It's been a devastating ordeal for the hundreds of residents of this high-rise apartment in North York. Raging flames engulfed the building last night, and despite the tireless efforts of firefighters, one person was killed as dozens of people watched in horror.
You see it on TV, but you never feel like it's going to happen so close to you.
Of course, yeah.
It is. I just hope. It's very sad.
Yeah.
After witnessing one of her own neighbors trapped on the 8th floor balcony of his apartment as a fire rapidly grew around him, Daniela Viana can barely hold back tears as she relives the horrible moments.
This man just started running out of the balcony, and everyone was just like, run, jump. I was even like, I got scared. It was terrible. I can't imagine. It's very scarring.
Of course.
I felt so bad for him. Everyone was telling him to jump. People were getting mattresses from the garbage so he could just run. It was terrible.
It was a horrific sight. The 5-alarm fire ripped through 3 floors of the building yesterday, starting around 5:30. That's when multiple residents tell us they saw and heard the victim crying for help.
He was flinging his arms, he was screaming for help, and we're all telling him, yelling, saying, please get over to the other balcony. And then all of a sudden he sunk down. That was the last we saw of him.
The body wasn't discovered until 1 a.m. after the fire was brought under control.
The search for occupants inside the building commenced immediately and literally never stopped.
Today, in the aftermath, the extensive damage to the building visible from the outside. Officials have determined the fire originated in Unit 808, where the victim was located.
Unfortunately, given the heavy flames and the circumstances in the unit of origin and a couple in the vicinity, we simply were not able to get into those suites until such time as the crews had suppressed the fire.
Meanwhile, more than 300 people have been forced out of their homes, dozens gathering at Driftwood Community Center today, set up as an emergency shelter last night.
There is food, there is water, there is coffee.
Some residents were allowed to return home for 5 minutes to gather what belongings they could and leave. The community coming together in support, even dropping off donated items.
It hits close to home, so close to Christmas.
The investigation into the cause of the fire is ongoing, and the victim has been transported for a post-mortem. Ahead on City News, we ask officials if there's any indication on when residents can return home. A horrific night for the hundreds of residents of this North York apartment building. Earlier in the show, we told you about the raging fire that forced them out of their homes and resulted in the tragic death of at least one person. We know that engineers and electrical crews have been here assessing the damage all day, and today we asked officials if there's any indication on when residents can return home based on what they've seen inside so far.
Significant damage, obviously from the 7th floor up to about the 8th or 9th floor. We've got significant fire, smoke damage. So that all needs to be addressed by the appropriate authorities to make sure that it's going to be able to be safe for people to go in. But definitely the 8th floor is going to be inaccessible for a significant period of time.
As of tomorrow, we're going to be starting the process of relocating a lot of these residents to York University, where we'll be able to look after them for a little bit period longer until the building is able to a point where we can start relocating people back in.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation, but officials have determined that it originated on the 8th floor where the victim was located. We'll have updates on this story throughout the night on our website, citynews.ca.